Adam Gilchrist, captain of the Kings 11 team and a role model that anybody would like to go ahead and have as a mentor. Adam, a new season. Now, what are your thoughts on IPL Season 6?
Yeah, well, it's off to another exciting start. There's been several games that have gone right down to the wire, and I think it's intriguing viewing for everyone. I think the makeup of teams, the formula that has been brought together to create this competition, with overseas players and local domestic players, and the balancing up of who you do and don't play, and the various nationalities. So it's really made for a compelling viewing for everyone and real entertainment. It's certainly the format of the game that is pure entertainment.
Adam, again, this season you assume a different role. Unlike last year, you probably were coaching the team, mentoring the team, and obviously captaining the team. Now you have a coaching staff in place. So does that take off a little, if you can call it, burden off you?
Yeah, definitely. I think I took on too much last year. The opportunity was presented to do that dual role, and I was very keen to try it out. But I think on reflection, realised that just trying to do too many things and not necessarily being able to do any of them extremely well. So fantastic to be able to alleviate that pressure and expectation by bringing on Darren Lehman. And we've got a great cast there. We've got Darren, Joe Dawes, who is Indian bowling coach, Mike Young, another assistant coach who's got vast experience across many sports, none the least baseball and cricket. W.V. Rahman has come on as a local knowledge and input, and he's been terrific. So, and then our medical staff we feel are very confident in as well. So, terrific setup within the franchise and allowing me just to focus more on the cricket, and I'm really enjoying that.
Gilly, given the kind of experience that you share, how challenging or how difficult or how easy would it be to sustain a particular kind of momentum over a period of time, given the length of the tournament?
Yeah, it is a tournament that lends itself to little patches or phases of tournament where you feel like you're really coasting along and everything's running like clockwork, and then you can otherwise hit times where nothing seems to work. So it is that the up and down phases that you need to try and as a group try to level out. So when it's high, it's not too high, and when it's low, it's not too low. You've got to try and have that even mindset right throughout. So that is the challenge of the leadership group, and that's a lot of what we try and focus on. And obviously, it's such a results-based competition. It is 6 weeks, is a long period of time, but it's also a short period of time in that results are expected always, and everyone's got one eye or out the corner of their eye, they're looking at the table or the log and seeing who's where, and that just is heightened as the tournament goes on about, can you afford to lose another game, how many you need to win, and so on. So whilst it's a long tournament, it is condensed and it's pretty intense. So that's, as I say, trying to balance up that mindset of not getting too up or too down.
Again, coming back to your team, Shaun Marsh is one key player that you've probably missed so far. What's the news on his fitness? When do we see him in action?
Yeah, he's definitely a key player for us, but I don't feel like in the 2 games we've played that him not being here has exposed us in any way. And we've played the same team twice, so that means we've got 2 left-handed international batsmen on the sidelines in David Miller and Luke Pommersbach, who are very talented cricketers. So I don't think Shaun's absence is hurting us at this point. His progress is coming on well. We're just monitoring, or the situation's being monitored by Cricket Australia and Shaun's recovery team in Perth. So we're being guided by them, and Shaun's got to look at not just the IPL, but he's got some wonderful opportunity afforded to him in the future in Australian cricket, I believe, given the circumstances at that level. So he needs to have a big picture outlook rather than just a focus on IPL.
Gilly, we are in season 6 of IPL. You've been a part of all the 6 IPLs. When you started, did you really expect to go into 6 seasons?
Certainly not. I remember I retired from international cricket just prior to the first IPL and had committed to the tournament. So in my mindset, I thought I would just play 1 year and then just see where it goes. None of us knew how the format was going to work, whether it was going to be serious, whether, you know, would the intensity be there, given we all play for our various nations, and but we saw from the opening night just the passion and the desire of the players and the owners and the fans. Everyone bought into it on night one there in Bangalore.
When it comes to the top order batting, you hold the key. How's your batting shaping up, or rather, must be a little easier for you now that you probably will be batting and captaining?
Yeah, not focusing on the coaching has alleviated that pressure. So, well, we're two hits into the tournament and hit a couple out of the middle and a little bit unlucky against Chennai in the manner of dismissal, but that happens, as I say. Another day you clip that same ball and it goes for 4. But yeah, I feel great. I don't. A lot of people talk about me being the key component to that top order, but I don't see it that way. I think, you know, David Hussey is a world-class 2020 player or international cricketer, and also the younger players around us there. As I mentioned, Mandeep Singh and Manan Vohra, I think are young players that will mature as this tournament progresses. So we see it as a collective group. There's no individual focus on any one player.
There's no doubt whatsoever that you are and you will remain probably as one of the most aggressive wicket-keeping batsmen that we probably see at the top of the order. Does it really make a difference to the way you bat? You probably bat in a test match side, or probably the way you'd bat in a T20?
Well, pretty much all of my test career was played prior to T20 being what it is now. There was, a handful of international games that were almost like show games where they were one-offs, and it was just like a festival atmosphere. The T20 World Cup started just as I was finishing, so it was gaining momentum, but I wouldn't say that T20 really had any effect, whether it was individually or as a whole across Test cricket. Maybe now there's a bit more of it coming into it, and I can't answer on behalf of the guys now whether they take a T20 mindset into Test cricket. I'm sure at phases you do have that positive approach where quick runs are needed. If there's a declaration being set up, if you're trying to buy time to bowl an opponent out, you need to score quickly. But I think our mindset as a Test match playing group of that era was a very positive mindset anyway, led by Steve Waugh's leadership and then enhanced by Ricky Ponting.
When you spoke about donning the gloves, you have to bat, you have to captain the side. MS Dhoni has also been doing a very similar role to what you have, and he's sustained criticism also over a period of time. If you're in his shoes, Gilly, what does it really require? Is it just about being skilled? What does it require to excel at the top with multiple?
What I see in MS is a great calmness. There's certainly never any signs of panic that I've seen. So, and I guess if you expose yourself on the international stage enough times, at some stage there's going to be times where you don't quite fulfil what the fans expect and so on, and that opens itself up for criticism. And maybe that calmness has led to some criticism that there are times when he doesn't react quickly enough or doesn't change things appropriately, be it in Test cricket. But certainly across the board, I think he's been a wonderful leader, and he's held a team together very well that's had a great blend of some strong experience, some great experience of the older players, some strong personalities, and then allowed the generational change of new players to come in and blend in well with that group. So he seems to me like a terrific leader, and he's performed really well individually, and obviously he loves the big moments, and that's what you want, your quality players to stand up in the big moments, and he's done that.
Now, as an opposition captain, which is that one weakness of Sachin Tendulkar that is best exposed, and probably Ricky Ponting, which is the one weakness that is best exposed, because you've seen them from close quarters?
Yeah, hard to find too many. I think criticism around say using those two players by way of example in 2020 cricket may be, but that they don't score as quickly as what some of the more current players do, or a guy like Gale. I mean, Gale is in a world of his own. I think statistically we all sit there and admire what he does in 2020 cricket, particularly in this region. I think Sachin and Ricky, people may say that they don't have that desire to try and hit the balls in the air. That's because they're just such brilliant batsmen. But I think over a sustained period of time, if they play long enough, they're going to get their scoring rates to an acceptable level, and they're just world-class cricketers. They're two of the best ever to play the game. So I'm not going to sit and say there's any negatives about their game that I find.
Oh, you probably wouldn't tell us what the negatives
well,
are.
no, you like to
You
think if
probably
you
want
found one,
your bowlers to expose that on the ground.
That's the plan. But again, in a team meeting, I don't think you can sit there and say there's any one thing that you've got to do to stifle those guys. You want to just keep it all pretty simple and hope that they don't peel off one of their magical days, because they've certainly both still got the potential to do that.
Giri, what's your definition of being aggressive?
I think it's a good question. I think it's having belief and trust in your own ability. So you've got to have that to allow yourself to be aggressive and to take on an opponent. So, but it needs to be handled in a controlled manner. I think there'll be times where you just throw caution in the wind and just swing wildly or be overly aggressive without any control to it, and it may come off. But I think more often than not, you need to do it in a controlled manner.
Are you of the opinion that sledging is probably the best way to show that you're aggressive? Because that's what's pretty evident in modern day cricket, altercations on the field, heated arguments, swearing at each other.
Yeah, maybe you mellow a bit as you get older, but the more I see of that, the less I understand why players want to do it, but it's not something that I see as a priority. I think now all the words can be fired away, but it's the actions and the follow-up to those words that are most crucial. So it doesn't matter how much you posture and try to position yourself in a physical sense. It's what the actions are in the skill of the game that count for most. And if someone keeps talking and sledging, eventually, if you ignore them long enough, they'll get sick of talking to themselves and they'll stop. So it's the actions that count much more than words.
Also the fact that in this IPL, also another trend that we've seen of course, given the fact that it is considered to be a batsman's delight, the bowlers for a change have been major contributors to a particular win. Yeah. What's your take on that? And just throw some light on your bowling attack. Yeah,
I think you're right. The scoring to this point's been, I guess, lower than previous years. So that I think the wickets have looked like they've been reasonable wickets. So that tells me the bowlers and the strategy of the bowling groups is improving and evolving. I think the use of slower balls, of variations, is really coming into it more and more. And I think whilst we saw batsmen become innovative and develop shots and certain strokes, I think bowling, in a more subtle fashion, that's occurring, but it is starting to have an effect on the outcome of games, certainly the scoring rates in games. So as for our bowling, we were really pleased. Obviously, our bowling unit performed beautifully in the first game. In the second game, we didn't get a wicket. People may say that's an abject failure, but our batting unit misfired there, so we didn't leave our bowlers with much to do. So, and they took it as deep into the game as possible. So we're really thrilled with our variety. We've got some nice pace with Ryan Harris. We've got subtle skill from a guy like Praveen Kumar. Pravinda Rawana is still developing as a player, but showing great signs. And Piyush Chawla has bowled a couple of really good spells, and has
even Azhar Mahmood also, in the 2 wickets that he took, he's probably getting back to his old wily, his skills.
He's very skillful. I mean, he's almost a full-time 2020 player now, and travelling all the world in the various leagues, and he brings a great deal of skill and variety and a lot of experience to the team.
Giri, you've got such a vast experience. You're sharing that on a platform like this, where not only the Indian players benefit, but also players from across the world benefit. Do we see you assuming a similar kind of a role with your national team sometime? Are you looking at that option for yourself?
Not in the near future. I don't have any desire to be in and around the team. I love being in and around the team, certainly, and that opportunity was afforded me last year in Perth. With the Australian team, Michael Clarke inviting ex-players back in just to be around the group, and that's very enjoyable. But I don't covet any role with the team permanently, or I don't want to be travelling as much as they do. That was very much part of why I gave up, and it's a new generation, and it's their time. Certainly happy to contribute if asked, and do what I can to help them head in the direction that they want to target. It's not for me to tell them or decide what the direction should be, but if I'm asked, I'm more than happy to contribute.
In what other way do you keep yourself involved in cricket? I mean, are you keen on commentating? Are you keen on probably having some coaching stuff?
I coach my son's under-11s team, and I don't do that very well either, but that's nice involvement, junior cricket, but done a little bit of commentary here and there, and that may be an option in the future, but again, at the moment, it's smaller involvements. That's why the IPL is good fun. It's nice to come over just for this chunk of time and still be involved in cricket, but not having to do it full time.
Probably a word for your fans, because they've been behind the team right throughout.
Yeah, look, up north, I've realised that fans are very, very passionate, as they are all around India for the various franchises. So we appreciate that support, and it's only been once that the team has made the semi-finals, and that's something that we would love to try and rectify and give our fans the opportunity to participate in those playoff rounds. So that's obviously the goal for us, but we love interacting with them, and when we play up north and stay up in Chandigarh and even more so up in Dharamshala and playing up there, it's a great experience to get out into that more rural regions and share it with the fans up there.
And what's your fitness funda? Because it's a long tournament, you travelled, you probably experienced different climates, but you're as fit as a fiddle. What's behind that? What's your success?
I think when you've been in professional sport all your life, even when you've finished that full-time career, you just want to stay healthy and keep active. So that's not a difficult decision to make, and the added incentive of coming here each year, I want to try and be ready to go. So I had my first injury last year ever in any cricket during the tournament, so hopefully that wasn't much fun, and hopefully that doesn't happen again. So just try and keep generally fit, and then get in as much practice as possible prior to the tournament before getting over here.
What's that one thing that really binds you guys together? What's the driving force for the Kings 11?
I think in any franchise it's the common love of the game of cricket.
Again, early part of the tournament, maybe a bit early to ask you, where do you see Kings 11 at the end of this season, realistically?
A bit early to make any bold predictions, but it's anyone's guess. I mean, I don't think anyone can rule out any team. I do think this tournament may be as closely fought out as any of the previous tournaments. It really could come down to, for the last 2 years, we've gone into our final match knowing if we win it, we're in the semis. If we lose it, we're out. And unfortunately we've lost those last 2 games both times. But that shows how close we've been. So ideally we'd be in the semis, but I do think it's going to be a very, very closely fought competition.
Any particular players this time around to watch out for?
There's too many to mention. Too many to mention. All the danger guys, all the big names are there, and both international and domestic.
And on the other front, what do you really enjoy doing in India when you're not playing cricket?
Oh, the food's outrageously good, so that's great. And just getting out and about if possible. I love walking around in the streets and getting off the beaten track a little bit, seeing the obvious passion for the game. Everywhere you look, there's a game of cricket down the back alleyways, and just meeting the people. It's really interesting to learn from them and learn more about India each time you come here.
And who, in your opinion, is the best T20 player in current world cricket?
I think you'd have to say Chris Gale's the most damaging player, certainly in these conditions here. He didn't have the greatest tournament, or the tournament he would have liked in Australia in the Big Bash, but the conditions are somewhat different. But the West Indies team are playing a huge part. I think Sunil Narine is just as influential in the game of cricket at the moment as what Chris Gale is. So it's probably no mistake that they are the T20 world champions.
Gilly, it's never enough of you, so one wants to really go on and ask you question after questions. T20 or Test cricket, what's your pick?
Test cricket's best cricket. I still think. I understand the attraction of 2020 and the entertainment that it provides. I love watching 2020 cricket, but playing and still for me the purity of Test cricket is what will see the games, longevity stay on. I think that will always be there. It's a great environment to find out just how good your skills really are.
Ricky Ponting taking over captaincy of Mumbai Indians, did that surprise you?
No, not at all. I think even the Mumbai Indians camp from within have identified that leadership role hasn't quite been fulfilled. It's probably almost been one of the missing links. They've spent extraordinary amount of money on players, support staff, facilities, creating the right environment, but maybe they've just missed that one big sort of strong leadership role. Sachin was captain for a while, but I get the feeling that over the years of his career, captaincy's never really been the one thing that he's coveted and strived for. I think he's just loved being the best player that certainly I've seen, and all credit to him for that. Harbhajan took it on. Again, perhaps there wasn't that strong leader there that had everyone drawn behind him. He's a terrific individual player and a terrific member of a team. I've got no doubt about that. But I think what Ricky brings is a strong leader and with a lot of experience. So that to me is what they're banking on there.
Gilly, being the mature player that you are, we haven't really seen you, involved in any controversy or, unpleasant stuff to say the least. IPL has been marred by quite a few each season. Some called for, some uncalled for. What do you think? What is the best way to do away with this kind of situation? Or do you think this is going to be a part and parcel?
It's cricket and sport it's an emotional game. It's high intensity, and with that, emotions are raised, and that it all happens so quickly. So a lot of the guys, particularly younger players, often don't have time and don't understand yet that often it might be best just to take a second or two and think about it before you react to something, and that's always going to be around it. That's passion and that's energy and, as I say, emotion. You don't want to lose that, but as long as guys are learning from situations, and I think the quicker a young player can understand to just harness that emotion and don't play with emotion but play with skill, the better everyone will be. They'll benefit individually, and I think we'll lose those more sour moments, if you like. But it's great to see the passion that everyone has in wanting to play in whatever tournament it is.
Final question now. What's that one goal that you've set for yourself individually in this season of IPL?
Really, it's just obviously contributing to the team as a whole in my role, both as opening batsman, so hoping to, obviously like every batsman, trying to score as many runs as possible, but doing that in a manner that the team requires. So, there is an expectation that you're going to score runs, but it's going to be at an accelerated rate, batting at the top when the field's up. We all want to get off to quick starts, so that comes into it. As captain, and as leader of a group, just trying to ensure that we got the right environment, that we've created the team culture that we want to then give ourselves the best opportunity to do well, and to keep learning. That's one of the goals, just to keep taking all I can away from it, not just to improve as a cricketer, but improve as a person. And I'm so close to never playing cricket again. It's a long life ahead that hopefully I can use those experiences that I gained from cricket, both from learning from experienced players and young players. Hopefully that'll help me in life ahead.
You mentioned the opening stand. The one last question that I have to ask you, Virendra Sehwag, Gautam Gambhir not being informed, being criticised, how much does India need them to be around for a while? They're not doing well, they've been dropped. Viru also in trouble with other reasons. What's really on, and is it possible to replace them overnight with other players?
Oh, on recent results, it looks like they've done very well in replacing those two guys in Test cricket with that series against Australia. That doesn't, I guess what I mean there, it doesn't mean necessarily that Gautam or Viru couldn't have been successful there, but what it did show is there's a couple of young players that were successful, and the hunger is there and the talent pool is there. So, I think that sort of transition.
But what about Viru? Because Viru obviously He has a capability of destroying any attack, but that's not been happening for a while. Critics also say that this is probably the end of the road for him. Jeffrey Boycott mentioned that he's not going to play international cricket anymore. So,
look, the one person who I think's least affected by all this is Viru himself. I've never seen a man so relaxed about, taking good with bad. It's just the way it is. He'll keep trying to play the way he plays, and that's life, and get on with it. He looks to me like he doesn't stress too much about it, and I love that approach. I've always admired that approach about him. So I don't know whether I wouldn't write them off. They've certainly, Viru has stood the test of time, and there may well be an opportunity for him to come back into it. But having said that, there may not, because the young guys that have got the opportunity now, and I suspect that the selectors are really starting to look to the younger guys now and want to move on. If they take their opportunities, it might be very difficult for any of the players out of the team to get back into it. But as I say, I think the least affected person will be Viru himself.
As much as we won't we'll have to let go of you, because we would like you to probably go back and concentrate on cricket. But it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Adam Gilchrist, and wish you all the luck for this tournament.
Thank you.